Well, today we're going to talk a little bit about paper quilling, and I'm going to show you, I've got some different things set up here. So as you're at home, you can start thinking about different ways to make these little designs that we're going to use to cover the entire surface of our paper letter. So to get set up, you're going to need a couple of things. I've got my glue, I've got a toothpick, and if you don't have a toothpick at home, you could potentially, if you still have this at home, you could use this needle part of your pin tool as an option. You can also use a pencil, although it's going to give you a little bit of a different consistency when you're doing your design, or maybe a nail, anything else that just maybe has a really thin end on it. So I'm going to flip the camera down to my work surface here so you can see what I've got set up. So first of all, I've got a piece of paper. This is just a scrap piece of paper, and I poured out some glue onto that. I've kept my background letter. This was the one that we used last week to just trace. This was my rough draft, and you can see I've kind of sketched some ideas on there of what I'm going to do. I'm going to play around on this for today's class. And then I've got a couple of different paper strips that I grabbed out of my supply bag. So the first type I'm going to show you of paper quilling is where you're just going to roll a regular curl. So I'm going to start this on my toothpick and just bend the end of it around the toothpick and then just roll this entire thing up. And if you were in school, you would have unlimited amount of paper. At home, you have a limited amount. So that means that you're going to have some variety in your design in order to fill your entire piece of paper. So now I've got this really tight curl here, and you've got a couple of options. I'll go ahead and finish rolling this here. You could leave that as a really tight curl, but if you do very many of those, it's going to take a lot of paper to fill up your entire letter. So we want to maybe leave our design just a little bit more open than that. So if I let go just a little bit, that curl is going to open up. Okay, so now at the end, I'll pull that end back just a little bit, and this is why I have my little puddle of glue. I like to just dip it in there and then roll that back up. With the Elmer's glue, if you just hold that and maybe count to 10 or 15, it's going to create a little bond and it's going to stick. Notice I am not using hot glue for this project. Okay, that's for a completely different project. This project, Elmer's glue. Okay, so there's just a very simple, this is idea number 1 of things that you can do to kind of build up a design on your project. I'm going to set that one aside and I'll show you my other really simple one. This does not involve using a toothpick, it's just using your paper. So I kind of like pull my paper and curl it just a little bit so it has a little bit of a curve to it. And then what I'm going to do, and I'll try to hold this up nice and close here, is I'm going to make a little loop. So just like that. And then, what's the best way to show this? At the bottom of that paper, I am going to bend or fold my paper right at the bottom, and I'm going to kind of keep that as a crease. And my next loop, I'm going to go around there, is just a little bit bigger. And then bend and crease again. The next loop, a little bit bigger, bend and crease again. And then I've got this kind of random piece of extra paper. I'm going to just tear that off. And the little area that's extra, that's where I'm going to put my glue. So again, just kind of run that through my glue stack that I have there. And I'll hold and press this just for a second. Okay, so that's that one, just a little kind of loop design. The thing that's really nice about this is you can add more color to it. So I could start with what I just did. I've got purple, this kind of fuchsia purple. And then I could actually add another contrasting color around the outside of that. And maybe the red isn't super contrasty. Maybe I would want to use my yellow for some variety, but this will kind of give you the idea. So I could take my red paper and just continue making even bigger loops around what I've already started. And that gives me this paper design that has red on the top and purple on the inside, so that when I put that down onto my, my paper, I'm going to have a nice two-tone paper design. These ones look really cool. If you make multiple, like if I made 3 or 4 of these, I could put the end of them together and rotate them around in this area, and it would make kind of, I don't know, an interesting paisley or spiral pattern. I've got some design ideas like that mapped out for right here in the middle of my E. So maybe just the little single color one would work in the center. And as you work, if you have a sketch on your letter like this, you might find, well, this is a little bit bigger than what I planned, so it has to rotate, or maybe you're needing to make it smaller. So some revising, that's why you're kind of pre-planning today to see what might look good. Okay, so I've also got that. With your paper, you could make some interesting shapes as well. I had a cloud designed in my letter here. So, you know, in order to do that, all I have to do is kind of create my base for my cloud, and I can crease my paper in a couple of different ways. And basically, I'm just making like an outline of that shape, and then I can fill it in with my paper as I am working. So I'm just kind of creasing my cloud in a couple of different areas here, thinking about what shape. If you want it to be more curved, just kind of pull and curve it around your finger to make it really nicely curved. Okay, so I can kind of mess around with this general idea and curve this end piece. This is maybe a little bit too big, that end piece there. But I've got a basic cloud shape here, so once I glue that onto my background paper, then I could fill the inside of my cloud shape with some other designs, like my little curl could go inside of my cloud shape. So if you wanted to kind of block off a couple of different areas that you want to fill with a particular design, you are welcome to do that also. Another really simple way to kind of fill some of the space is a bigger open spiral. So for that, you would maybe want to use a pencil or a pen. So instead of starting with a toothpick, using a pencil or a pen is going to give you a bigger spiral. So just kind of doing that, press it on my pencil for a second, and then you can see that it is far more open on the inside than what that little tiny one was that I did. I think that's a little bit too open, so I might have to manipulate that or do a little bit of a smaller start on the inside of that one. Okay, so there's another general idea of what you could do. All right, so lots of different things that you can play around with for today. Remember, today was just for practice. So at the end of your class time today, you should have at least 3 different ideas for what you can do with your quilled shapes. There's lots of other tutorials on YouTube, so beyond my general information, you can find stuff on YouTube. Remember that you're going to be filling every spot on your letter. So when you're planning your designs, make sure that you keep in mind you're going to want some bigger pieces, maybe some smaller pieces, but the whole part of your letter is going to need to be filled with design ideas. All right, so have fun playing around with these different folding techniques, and then we'll talk more about how to apply everything to your letter in class on Tuesday.